I took a screenshot of one girl saying administrative team members are actually a drain on ROI. And I was just like, you're nuts, because you can't do what you do without us. You try doing your own schedule and claims and you see how much of an ROI you have of your hourly afterwards. I was a little bit hot reading that because I was like, this is somebody who clearly has no business, even a business cell in their brain.
Think of the patient's sticker shock, no matter what you tell them a procedure is. My insurance covers this and you want to charge me $35 for irrigation. How dare you? Let a biblical plague happen to this office right this second.
Let's talk about the economics.
We've reached a point now where there's information everywhere. And you kind of can't ignore it anymore when it comes to supply costs, when it comes to overhead, when it comes to insurance negotiations. People need help, and it's hard to not get burnt out.
And we are back with another edition of Nobody Told Me That. I have a frequent guest, good friend, Ted Osterer is here from Synergy Dental Partners. What's up, Ted? I'm going to introduce you, but what's up, Ted?
Well, I'm sorry. We just talked about this. I resigned from Teresa. I'm supposed to join you on the podcast full time. We just talked about this.
I can't believe this.
I already told the team. I told the team I was resigning. What is this?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, no.
Brian,
Wait.
If you're listening, I did not poach Ted.
Wait. Oh, no.
Ted, you told me your title at Synergy is Supreme Overlord at Synergy, but you're really the VP of Sales. Now you want to be the podcast person. Nobody told me that. This is hilarious. I had no idea.
This is a shock to all of us. I thought that I would be your vice podcast.
We may as well.
I was going to be the Andy to your Conan O'Brien. I think that's his name. I was going to be Garth from Wayne's World. And here we are now. I have to beg for my job back. This is some kind of situation.
Yes, I'm so sorry to put you in this bad spot. But, in order to get your job back at Synergy, you got to prove that you know what you're talking about. Listeners, if you're listening to this and you've never heard me before, and you've certainly never heard Ted before on the show, Ted and I have a very strange but funny relationship in that we completely just laugh and joke all the time. And in the middle of all of it, we get information from each other. That's what we're doing today, right, Chief Podcast Officer Ted?
If you're in the car listening to this, this is the perfect waste and use of your time that you could possibly imagine.
Which is really, that's how we are when we talk. It's like, did we get anything done? Yeah, I found out something. Okay, all right. What else?
The fly on the wall is confused by whatever we're talking about. That is.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right.
We're here. Third time's a charm. This is our third attempt of recording this podcast.
This is a heck of a podcast to schedule. Here's why I keep bringing you back is because I turn to you for information and what's going on. I have a couple people in the industry that I keep in touch with on a regular basis to say, what the heck's going on over there? What are you hearing over there? And you've been that person since I met you years and years ago when you used to work for Care Credit way back when, right?
Yeah.
We saw each other at Chicago Midwinter, and that's when we said, it's time for another catch up. There's been a lot of changes. We've had economic pressures. We've had workforce pressures. I always want to know, what are your customers looking for? Like, what's the next big thing that your dentist is going to come back from a show with and say, we're signing up with this and we're doing that. And I couldn't purchase this because the cost went through the roof. I just want to know what's going on. Thank you again for coming on here and sharing all of that, because you don't pull any punches. You always you just say what you need to say. And you know what? We might get into it a little bit, people, because that does happen. Talk to me a little bit about what you're hearing. You were on the floor at Chicago Midwinter. What is everybody coming up and asking you for? Scanners, CBCT, clear aligners? What's the big thing that they want to talk about?
I think that we've really entered the digital age that we've been hearing about forever. There's no great announcement when it arrives. I just see people are looking for deals on scanners. People are looking for deals on CBCT, be it refurbished, be it new. Depending on a dentist situation, there's a lot of new practices that will come to Synergy and they're immediately looking for a CBCT, which is kind of against the grain of just spending everything in the beginning. But there's so many deals out now that enables you, yes, you have 6 chairs, keep 4 of them open, and then have the technology to treat every single patient and provide that care. We've seen that a lot. Scanners have been red hot. Printing is finally at a price now. A 3D printing is finally at a price now where, look, I mean, I'm not going to say anyone could do it, but it's certainly way more available than it
Yeah.
once was, especially with options. I feel we're at a point now where those that want to do aligners are doing aligners.
Okay, and that really jives with what I'm hearing out there because there's always a lot more conversation about how you bill for ortho and all that, and I'm not an ortho biller, I always send people to people I know, but as far as ortho goes, it's used to be I mean, I remember when we talked about this, GPs wouldn't even touch ortho because, first of all, they didn't wanna upset their ortho specialist that they referred to, the orthodontist, but also, way back in the day, there were only certain cases that could be addressed. It's not like ortho was everywhere. It was like in this specific use case, clear aligners work. Now, there's so many use cases for clear aligners. I feel like it's almost like a regular offering in most general dental offices. Is that sort of what you're feeling?
I'm seeing it in the dentists that I speak to. They want to do them or they don't.
Okay. Okay.
There is a lot of work, and there are some dentists that don't mind it. They see the light at the end of the tunnel. They see the revenue that comes in. They see how much they could charge. And now there's offerings. I mean, look, everyone knows Invisalign. It's a household name, and rightfully so. They've done a terrific job of building the brand, of realistically being first, even if there's companies before it. I mean, it's like, did you get Invisalign? And a patient's going to be like, yes, but they may have gotten Clear Correct. They may have gotten Spark. They may have gotten SureSmile or something like that. But now there's so many options out there. And even ortho-specific aligners, think of Spark,
Mhm.
are available to GPs. And again, that want to move forward with aligners, they love it. That depending on where you get it from, like, look, first shameless plug, right? If a dentist wants to use Spark, it's less than $1,100 a case for a Synergy member, for a full
Wow.
blown Synergy member. And a lot of dentists went from Invisalign to Spark. So when you think of the quality that you could get, now it's more available to patients. It's easier to implement. You have a lot more support than what you used to. And of course, the
Mhm.
market has plenty of options, whereas you kind of didn't at one time. That's not a knock on any organization. It's just where we're at right now. And
Mhm.
for those of you in office that have considered looking at other aligner options from the one that you are getting now, you have options. See if it's for you. If you are, of course, in the market to switch, I'm not telling you to do
Well, I
that,
mean,
but
but honestly, like, I know offices that will do 2 different types of align 2 different sets, like, they'll offer, like, maybe one associate likes this and the other associate likes that, like, you don't have to be exclusive, but I think it's time to look around too. I mean, if you've been offering the same clear aligners for the last 4 or 5 years, like, there's been so much change in that, the apps, the telehealth possibilities, and if you've got a good team that can do it, obviously, that's a perfect way to add in some extra revenue, right? Scanners, I just keep hearing now that as part of a regular new patient evaluation, they're just getting scanned now. Like, that's pretty much part of, like, you take radiographs if needed, mostly needed, but then you scan. And then I talk to doctors where they're like, wow, what a total waste of time. And why would I do that? And then they do it. And then I hear back like, oh, we should have been doing this for a while. But I don't think we're there, but we're not quite over the tipping point. But you feel like we're close to the tipping point where a scanner is in every office or still far away from that?
I don't know if they're ever going to be in every office. But
I don't think so.
I
Wow. Okay. Okay.
But I mean, if Walmart's the only place to shop anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just kind of, I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but I mean, when you just think of patient in the chair, they see the outcome simulator. Like, this is what your mouth looks like. This is what it's going to look like. And it's just, we were doing that when I was a manager 10 years ago. I was scanning patients,
Yeah. Wow.
and
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
so, I mean, I was scan certified. We would always race who could do it the fastest. And I mean, if I had the option in my mouth to have polyether or VPS or a scan in less than 2 minutes, I'm probably going to run with the scanner.
Pretty sure.
If
Pretty
it's, and
sure.
of course, there are some things that are unavoidable, but I mean, if you're going to spend between $300 and $400 a month on an impression material, or the same fees or less for a scanner, I think you kind of got to run with the scanner at this point. There's so many good options out there: the Trios, the 3Shape, the Itero. I mean, there's classics for a reason. I even hear that there's a bunch of other small hot scanners coming up, and I don't think it's going to stop. I just don't see that happening. Again, you have options again, and those big names are offering economic scanners at this point. You could get an amazing scanner through Straumann at a very, very reasonable price at this point, and you might not associate the wordplay that I just said with economical,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that's where we are in 2026, that a lot of companies are waking up to, like you just said, the economic uncertainties of today.
Hmm.
And they're going to have to play ball if they don't want to alienate half of their clientele or people that don't even use them. They're just as important at this point.
Yeah, and we'll talk about profit and loss and impact and everything in a second. One takeaway I had from Chicago Midwinter, I was talking with Alan Mead, who has a great podcast, the Very Dental Podcast, and I'll link that. He's a good friend of mine. He was saying that he's never seen microscopes so cheap as they are today. And coming in from other countries, right? So American made microscopes are high up there, but he's always wanted to use one. And now they're at a point, and he's not a Beverly Hills dentist. He's in, I think he's in Minnesota in a rural area or something. And it's like he can use it and he can make use of it. Now he's like really looking at adding a microscope. And that's not something I would hear from a lot of dentists. I didn't think Alan was even interested in that kind of thing. I always thought that was like endo, perio type thing. And he's like, oh no, I can do a lot with a microscope and I can do a lot of conversations with the patient to talk about what's going on there. And I don't know if you even sell microscopes, but I was just kind of stunned that here we are talking about, like, we're talking about scanners, we're talking about CVCT, we're talking about microscopes in the GP office. I mean, I remember implementing digital radiography when I started out, and that was like a huge leap. And now, like, look at all this stuff we get to play with.
Yeah. I mean, look at Overjet, look at AI, look at caries detection or any of these. I mean, we were talking about this. The intraoral camera was from Acteon, right?
Yeah.
2017, the light changed color when you held it over a tooth if there was decay or something to treat. And it's like, why isn't everyone doing this? Like, the patient needs to be spoken to literally on a color scheme sometimes. Like, this color means something's wrong. This is how they're going to move forward with treatment. Oh, wow. How do I fix that color? What color is it supposed to be?
Look at our x-rays. We've been showing them like gray for so long, like just shades of gray for so long.
Yeah.
And trying to get them to understand, oh yeah, that gray's bad. That gray's good. Like, come on, this is where we are now. So yeah, use the artificial or the AI in your imaging if you can. And the AI in notes, I mean, that's a whole different conversation. We can really kind of geek out on that.
Oh, sure.
But let's talk about the economics too, and I just talked to an office yesterday. We had a strategy call and they said, we're already killing it this year. And I talked to another office last week. We're having a tough time. It is. So, again, you talked about the bubble of Facebook, like people on Facebook are either doing awful or they're doing well, depending on what group you get into. But boots on the ground, I rely on what I hear from people like you, from people in Dental Revenue Network. What are you hearing out there? How are they doing?
It's so funny because it's so regional.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
For those listening that weren't in our conversation before we hit record, I was talking about how your bubble on Facebook is so true or not true. And, where I am in South Florida, there's no hygiene shortage and they're making very reasonable wages. And doctors refer to specialists when and where they should. And things are good down here. I'm from New York. I live in South Florida now. I haven't really experienced that hygiene shortage or new patient discrepancy, right? Like, people need dentists where I live and there's no population shortage. And, temp agencies are doing great all over the country, no matter what, because, someone in an area that can't find a hygienist, they need a temp perhaps, right? And down here, the hygienist calls out in a full schedule, we need a temp for the other reason, and
well, that's the normal way. That's the way it used to be all the time.
Right.
And this is, you and I have said, like, what do you mean you're not feeling this? Like, we say this to each other in different, reasons. In Northern Virginia here, we definitely have a shortage. When I talk to my friends in California, definitely have a shortage. And is it a shortage because the hygienists are asking for more money and the doctors aren't paying it? There's that. So are there hygienists, but they're just not willing to pay them what they're asking? Or are there literally no hygienists? And that is something that my one client, former client in Maryland, rural Maryland, he's like, there's literally no hygienistry. So like none. There's different stages of hygiene shortage. Not everything is the same. But for the offices that don't have a good hygienist in there, where are you finding restorative to diagnose from? Where are you putting new patients in to give them that amazing cleaning? It's a real problem out there.
I think the laws play a part in it, where if you're in a state where a hygienist can implement Orikix and there's no injection and a doctor doesn't have to be there, you need a hygienist. That's your way to take a Friday and get 2,000 in production, And when I was at Care Credit and I had accounts in Western Massachusetts and like where it just kind of like borders rural New York, rural Vermont, rural New Hampshire, rural Massachusetts. And I would go into small groups and they're just like, I can't find a dentist to live here. They'll graduate from BC and it's like, how do I persuade them to not go back to where they're from? And they're throwing the book at people.
I know.
And I think that there really are regions that are just, they need to be more creative than the more populated regions. And going on Facebook and being like, how are you handling this? You have to be real careful who you listen to. And that's not a shot at the people answering. It just might not apply to you. The
Right.
answer could be brilliant.
Right.
But if there's no one there, then it's not going to help.
Oh, yeah. No, growth strategy in Southern California is very different than Vermont. I mean, no doubt, right?
Yeah.
And then, there's a reason why DSOs won't go into certain areas. There's just not the business case is not there, right? So you have to really pay attention to, is it similar to your situation or not? And even when people listen to this podcast, I'm always very, very careful to say this could be or could not be your situation because God forbid somebody takes my advice and it totally screws up their practice. But as far as what you're seeing with the hygiene shortage, what are you seeing as far as admin? So you're not seeing hygiene shortage, you're hearing about it, right, from clients. But when you talk to admin, because you probably talk to admin more, right? Admin and dentists more. What's the general feeling in offices
My
right now?
wife is a dental office manager.
God
I
bless.
said,
God bless.
and she works for an organization that knows what they're doing when it comes to the P&L. But there's so much work that has to be delegated now, where a manager used to have their role and the BA, the front desk, whatever may have you, would have their role. And there
Mhm.
was little overlap. And now the manager has to delegate managerial work or look pre-auths or insurance confirmations or verifications or eligibility and answering the phones and creating the schedule while
Yeah.
the manager has the claims and the treatment presentation. Even then, like when I was a manager, I only had one BA and I assisted her in being comfortable presenting treatment. She was a wizard at insurance and insurance verification. I was much better at treatment presentation, the patient experience, and so on.
Right.
And she pretty much made sure I wasn't doing anything illegal or burning the place down, which made a lot of sense. But, it got to the point where at this point I was getting close to going to work for Care Credit. So I wanted to train her to be better and she could grow and she could get better. So anything under $1,000 in terms of treatment presentation, I gave to her. And then a week later was anything under 2,000, then
Mhm.
4,000 and so on. But I wish I did that sooner just so like I had less, not work, but like I could spend time on other things.
Right.
If she was able to present something for $800 out of pocket, that it could have freed up time and maybe two more phone calls could have been answered. Maybe one more
Sure.
patient could have been
Sure.
seen or something like that. But I'm seeing that way more where there's two people manning a $1.5 million practice or $2 million practice. And it's really hard for managers that are listening. Yes, you need help at times. And if your doctor adds a third person, now suddenly you're 40 or $50,000 down the P&L, and it's hard to justify that the growth is going to to make that make sense.
Right.
And that's the crossroads that we're all looking at, be it in a dental office, be it in any business, really. If we bring on help, and look, of course, there's people I'm talking to right now where it's like, come hell or high water, and you're the person. And yes, you do. I'm not taking anything away from you. But
Yeah.
this is the dilemma that a lot of dentists are facing with the costs of everything going up while insurance reimbursements appear to remain the same. And that's realistically what I'm seeing is people need help. And it's hard to not get burnt out.
You said BA, I just want to clarify, you're talking about business assistant. I just want to make sure people understand
Yes.
what that
My
is. No,
apologies for not
no,
for not specifying.
it's all
Yeah.
right. The thing about adding another person is, I always hear, and I took a screenshot of one girl saying administrative team members are actually a drain on ROI. And I was just like, you're nuts because
Yeah.
you can't do what you do without us. So, you try doing your own schedule and claims and you see how much of an ROI you have of your hourly afterwards. I was a little bit hot reading that because I was like, this is somebody who clearly has no business, even a business cell in their brain. That aside, Ted, see, I got to rant a little bit.
Have at it. Because
I mean,
who am I to say you're wrong? I
but
think you're
so
right.
so insulting to say that. Like, every team member in an office has an ROI. If they're not performing, then it's on you as a manager to get rid of them, but every team member has an ROI. How dare you? So, what was bothering me about this whole thing was doctors can say that there is no visible ROI between hiring this person, but the invisible is sometimes so much more costly. You're
Yeah.
burning out the person, right? Your person who's there, okay, well, if she quits, guess what? You're going to have to hire somebody else now. Anyways, now you're going to be like really panic hiring. What's the ROI on that? What's the real cost on that, right? Turnover costs a lot. But and this is where you have to really evaluate, why is that ROI not there? Is it because, like you said, reimbursements aren't good? Maybe you have to have a real honest look at the contracts you're in. Maybe you got so crazy with contracts that this is why. If your costs are truly unmanageable, like you have done everything you can to squeeze and there's nothing else you can do, like if you really at that hard wall, then yes, you can say there's no ROI on it. And yes, you need to make some hard decisions. But the truth is, Ted, some dentists go out of business because they can't make it work, right?
Yeah.
We don't want that. But if you have not done everything you can to make your practice lean, growing faster and all that and more efficiently, then you need someone to take a look at your business and help you do that. And it's not me, it could be somebody else. I mean, it's definitely not me. But what I'm getting at is when you say ROI is not there or 40 to 50,000 on the profit and loss statement, why are we not looking at the other side of it, which is why those costs are so stuck? Like, because doctors see costs as stuck. Like, how are we going to move that? And there's fixed costs and there's variable costs, but to a doctor, they look monthly at what's going out. And to them, that's their full cost. So they kind of bundle it together. And insurance reimbursement not going up or staying the same, they see that as an immovable object. But that's not the case. I feel like you really need to look at that because maybe you're in a bad situation. So let's talk about what can be changed because lab costs, right? We can take a look at lab costs. And I hate squeezing labs more because that's a whole industry that's really in trouble. But inventory costs, these are things we can take a look at. And then I'm going to bring up, and I know, this isn't a synergy thing, but I'm sure you've had this conversation with people. What about credit card fees? Should I charge credit card fees? And is that a way to recover? And that's honestly in classes, that's where people really get angry at each other because it's cost of doing business. If you're crazy, it's not a cost of doing business. It's just kind of funny. So yeah, I just threw a lot
Y-
out at you.
No, but because I think it all kind of ties and there's a lot of overlap. And I'm seeing a lot of practice acquisitions lately.
Mhm. Okay.
And I feel these younger dentists are very educated. They have a lot of business acumen to them. I'm not going to say that it's all of them or they could go run tremendous business. But no, what I am seeing, these acquisitions, these young dentists that have educated themselves a lot. They
Hmm.
know the market. Maybe they come from a DSO where they got trained and understand things a lot more. But these practice acquisitions or new dentists that are brought in, and they have to navigate through the old patient base.
Yeah.
And this is a dentist in their young 30s, and they are just treating Gertrude or whoever may have you.
I,
And she's like, Dr. Smith never said this, and he used to give me a discount, and da 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 da. Well, this young dentist knows, and this even ties into before with how to fix certain things. This young dentist knows, I don't think I want Gertrude as a patient anymore. I'm
mm,
on the hunt for new patients. Gertrude is not going to move forward with the care that she needs, and she's not going to pay the fees that I'm charging. Whereas Dr. Smith, who pretty much had a tremor by the time he was retired and
oh
was
yeah.
like, sure, well, we'll take half off. And how's Jimmy and all this stuff? You kind of can't live off of that anymore. That year barely even used third party financing on the last, you know what I mean? Like had to worry
Hmm.
about insurances and new patients and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
So the younger dentists are almost like, I want emergencies. I want to fix people. I want to make
Yeah.
people healthy,
Yeah.
and if they keep coming here, great. Or now that they're healthy, let them go get their scheduled prophies someplace else if they don't want to be perio patients and make it work here.
Right.
So these younger dentists, they're savvy in their insurance negotiations, or hopefully in some cases it'll apply where they don't have to bring in insurances that were holding down the prior practice. They're understanding credit card fees or merchant fees or who to sign on with. And the amount that's like, oh, I just went with the bank. They gave me a merchant fee. They don't even look at it. And now it's like, look, this is a silent killer. You're running the card for thousands of dollars in transactions. Maybe it makes a difference if you're getting charged a fraction of a percent or 4%, like
Hmm.
this
Yeah.
is stuff that we have to look at. They know their lab fees need to be within 6 to 8% as opposed to 14%. And then supply costs,
68% of collections. I just want to make sure 6 to 8% of collections that we're clear.
I am so deep into the lingo on this almost holiday Thursday.
I'm always remembering, though, that the people that are listening, they could be like the first week in dentistry. I'm always really grateful to my doctor because he didn't assume that I knew everything, and he broke it down, even to the point where I was like, but it's okay, so I'm sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead.
listen again. Listen
Yeah.
again. And for those of you in your first week of dentistry, we've entered an era where you kind of need to delegate work and explain exactly what you need done.
Yes.
Th-
Yeah.
Things are so ever changing. And look, guess what? Someone that you used to use Dentrix and now they're using Open Dental, they need guidance.
Oh, for sure.
And please just be patient. Here's my tangent that I warned myself about. But back to the acquisitions, the young dentists, they will come right to Synergy because they know, look, I need my supply costs at between 4 and 5% of collections. I know you can get me there. I need my lab fees between 6 and 8%. I know you can get me there. The old office is paying 150 a crown. I know that you guys have offerings as low as $35 for a crown through a lab. Like, help me out here. Where should I go? What should I do? They're open to learn. They're open to ask questions. And the answers don't take long. You know what I mean? Like, even when I was a manager, the amount of imperfect systems that I perfected so I didn't have to change anything because it messed with my routine, even
Yeah.
though I made my life so much harder along the way, you don't need to do that anymore. Like when you look at a Synergy, when you look at a GPO or buying club, group purchase organization, where all these rates on dental supply costs, on lab fees, on aligners, on implants, on endo, they're all negotiated for you, these rates. When
Mhm.
you have a long-standing rep or a legacy rep and, oh, they match all my pricing. Well, they will for a little bit. Oh, they give me the best deal. Well, you know what? When these major companies go through rep roulette and then that rep has to go to another company and they're not allowed to charge you those fees anymore, I hope you really like them enough to give that or just write them a check and say, hey, best of luck. Here's the commission you would have gotten. We've reached a point now where there's information everywhere.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you kind of can't ignore it anymore when it comes to supply costs, when it comes to overhead, when it comes to insurance negotiations. Teresa, they need you. I need you. Help me navigate through these times. What do these codes mean? What can I get? It's going to be maxed out at 1,500.
Yeah, I know, right?
If
All
you
the
refer out for endo, by the time the patient comes back, the endo is covered at 80%. Where does that leave you? The patient still needs the work done.
right.
You're probably
Yeah.
at contracted rates. Figure out how to uncontract them or,
Yeah.
or, or grow them and make sure that they get the care they need. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lost art unto itself. Like, I still
Yeah.
hear patients. I mean, I see your practices. We're an insurance practice. We're an insurance practice. So what? Of course you're an insurance practice. Like, most of them are,
Most of us are, yeah, yeah.
I saw a very clever television commercial. You guys remember television. I saw a very clever television commercial. It was from a very large DSO across
Mm.
the country. And it was the most brilliant ad I've seen in forever. And you know what they just said? Now accepting insurance. And that was so brilliant and
Mhm.
simple. And it was just like, if I'm a patient, oh, they accept insurance. I'll give them a call. My tooth hurts. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like the patient's no longer afraid right there. They think they can afford it no matter what. And that's how disassociated we all are with reality.
Yes, I feel like, especially people like us who've been in this a long time, like, when you say that, I'm sure some of the people listening were like, "Well, so what that they accept insurance?" But you have to look at it from the patient's point of view. They have insurance maybe for the first time. Maybe it's somebody, my son's age, they have insurance for the first time. They don't even know how to find a provider. And here's this big ad that says now taking insurance. And finally they're like, oh, well, I should call them because they didn't know about your office that's next door that takes insurance because they weren't in their ear, right? We have to look at it from the patient's point of view. And there was a post going around about a patient was upset about the bill and all this stuff. And then every dental person was like tearing down the patient, like, well, what did you expect for this? And what did you expect for that? The patient has no expectation at all. They have no idea. Their expectation is don't rip me off. And that's kind of what happened. And so, us as a dental industry, instead of saying, oh man, we need to take a lessons from this, the industry jumped on this person, like in the Facebook groups, obviously. And we're like, well, what did she expect for this? And, maybe she should try this one down the road and you get what you pay for. And I was like, wow, wow, we've come a long way.
But no reality is the same. I'll tell you a good story and think of the patient's sticker shock, no matter what you tell them a procedure
For
is.
sure. For sure.
My insurance covers this, and you want to charge me $35 for irrigation. How dare you?
Right.
Let a biblical plague happen to this office right this second. And I'm listening to my wife tell me a story about how a gentleman had one of those incredible insurance plans, like one of the last few, and who remembers what it was, but he needed two bridges, and insurance ended up covering more than half of it for everything. Like, it was one of those $10,000 plans, you know?
Nice.
And over the course of those 2 bridges, like, figure between 6 and 8 units, and the total out of pocket was something like $2,800 for everything.
For 2 bridges.
And
Wow.
yeah, and
Wow.
he's like, "Oh my goodness, that's astronomical." And my wife had her come to light moment, and she was talking to someone not on the older side, but probably towards retirement, if not retired. And he was like, "Oh my goodness, that's a lot of money." And she just went, "No, it isn't. No, do you have any idea how much this would cost if you didn't have these insurance? This is unreal. Like, you're gonna chew better the rest of your life and smile in every picture,
I
and this
love
isn't
it.
worth that to you." And I was just like, my heart, like, oh my goodness.
This is why I married you, honey. This is why.
Isn't that funny? Like, God bless. She was a social worker at one of New York City's busiest hospitals.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
very blessed that she was able to take off for over 5 years to watch our children when we
Oh,
had them, and now it's, guess
yeah.
what? They're in school now. We could
Yeah.
go back to work. Within 2 years, she's a dental office manager.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening, when you know exactly what your spouse is talking about when they come home and they tell you what's going on with work, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty fun. It's pretty
It's
wild.
wild. Yeah,
But
it's wild.
this was so awesome because as far as I'm concerned, it's like the patient needs this. It doesn't matter how much it's cost. This is the cost of doing business. So
Yeah.
for those listening, when you deliver the cost of treatment, and there is no, this is expensive. There is no, let's talk about discount or this, that, and this. When you go to the grocery store and now you have a family of 4 and the grocery bill is $400 for that week, you needed a few extra things. The person behind the counter is not like, they're not tapping their shoulder and saying, oh, it's $400. Like,
Right.
maybe you have 2 cards, you could pay for it. Maybe there's a flex spending. No, they're like, it's $481.97. And they turn around and yell, I need more bags, or
Yeah, yeah.
hey, this fall, could you take this away from me? You're
Yeah.
not thinking, I have to ask my spouse if I could spend this. When you go to TJ Maxx and they offer you a TJ Maxx card and it's
Yeah.
$70, for your last year's clothing.
What a great
And
deal. You can put it on the card. What a
yeah,
great
oh, take
deal.
out a TJ Maxx card and you'll save
Yeah.
$7 off this.
Yeah.
You're not thinking I need to ask my spouse or anything. No, this is the cost of doing business. They offered you third-party financing or third-party
Mhm.
credit card to pay for the cost. That's what we got to be doing. We're
Yeah.
presenting treatment. This
Yeah.
is the cost of doing business. There is no solemnness or sadness delivered to it. And for those,
Yeah.
again, going back to revenue, this is how to increase your revenue. If you want
Yeah.
those big ticket items, this is the cost of doing business. The end result is going to be you're going to live a better life, and this is how much it costs. And guess what? You do have time to pay it back. Maybe you have a flex spending account. Maybe you have $1,000
Yeah.
for down payment. If you can't afford a $70 a month for a brand new mouth, get them off your schedule.
That sounds
Y-
heartless. Let me back up a second because,
No, I
you
am
know,
caffeinated.
I agree,
I am
but I
on
agree
fire.
with you. I agree with you because there's an office for everyone, and I think we spend a lot of time on patients who they're already telling you they're not gonna move forward with treatment, and so we spend time on that patient. Meanwhile, you've got patients that have not been scheduled, who need an appointment, and who probably would walk in and not, like, say boo at anything. But,
Yeah.
every patient, I feel like a lot of times the front office feels like every patient is a challenge that I have to win. I don't do battle with everything anymore. Like there's somewhere I'm like, it's a waste of time. And I'm not saying patient is a waste of time. I'm saying that patient is not ready for what they need. And I'm ready for the patient who is. So instead of sounding heartless, let's think about this. Like that heartless conversation, the cost of keeping that person on your schedule who's going to fight you every time and then demoralize you every time they come in too. And the dentist too. No dentist wants to see a patient who keeps saying no. Why wouldn't you want to fill your office with people who really want to see you? Like, I think that's where we need to change that around. And to your point with revenue, the only way to make profit and loss, the sheet, look good is to increase revenue, profitability, increase revenue, lower costs. Like, that's how you do it. And if you're not able to do this over here, then we got to move over here. Like, we got to look at, do we take a look at assessing our real estate value and seeing if we can get like lower? There's a whole thing where you can get your pipes and walls evaluated and all that and lower costs. You can take a look at your phone bill. You can change providers to have something. Maybe you're paying 3 different subscriptions for one product. You can consolidate. Perhaps it's taking a look at inventory. Inventory is a huge problem in a lot of offices. They either overorder or they totally underorder, or the rep roulette thing that you mentioned earlier is so real. And I don't know if people really have heard that term before, but rep roulette is real. You and I have gone through tons of Patterson, Shine, Benco layoffs over the years. There's one every couple years. It's like clockwork, right? As they restructure, you could be great with a rep and then that rep goes to Benco. Okay, Patterson rep gets fired, goes to Benco. Okay, great. They can't really meet the pricing. They can get closer. Well, then I know you love this guy, but what happens the next time? So I appreciate him, but I need my inventory to be predictable. That's the business side of everything. If you can get lower pricing over here, I'm going to go for it. Lab work, though, can we talk about labs for a second? I'm really concerned with the lab industry. And I feel for them because there's so many small labs. If they don't have the money to invest in technology, they're just getting closed down. Are you seeing that in Florida? I don't know what the South Florida lab market looks like. I know here in Virginia, there's just consolidation everywhere. Like we don't have the small guys anymore. They're gone.
There are either new labs popping up with people that have experience elsewhere.
Okay.
And they're boutique and they're within their means. They know what they're capable of. They're very technologically savvy and they have their ear to the ground. I'm going to say something about the industry itself and pivot back to labs where these dental labs will pop up or these company will pop up. They'll get investment out the gate and say there's 180,000 dental offices in the country. If we get 5% of them, we'll be rich.
Yeah.
And when you say it to an investor, it's like, oh, that sounds like cake. That's not how this works. That's not what happens. You really need, and you see a lot of companies hiring people from outside of dental and to come run the ship, and they might
Mhm.
be good with numbers, but for those listening, you understand that it is Planet Dental.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
think of labs in itself are unique to dentistry, nonetheless, other industry. From a GPO, Synergy's partnered with 9 different labs, the largest being NDX, like you said, a conglomerate. They're in
Yeah.
50 states. They're in Canada also.
Mhm.
And then you have other labs that are mom and pop boutique. They only accept scans. They can actually read the scan when it shows up and say, this is good or this is not good. Either take it again. And those are brilliant. Those are the ones I think are going to last as long
Mhm.
as their marketing strategy is good and so on. But I think that the labs that will survive are, like you just said, they're funded properly. They have the right technology and the team is so important.
Yeah, oh, for sure. If you think dentistry has a workforce issue, the dental lab industry has a workforce issue. It's very hard for them to find people to come into the industry. Like they really
Yeah.
struggle. They're creating programs, but the pay is just not great until you get to an owner or operations level. And you get a lot of people who are not necessarily they're not trained in much and you're basically taking from the very beginning and training them. It's a good job for someone straight out of high school that is needing to hit the ground because there is upward mobility, but it's not a great like if you were a dental assistant or a manager looking to do a lateral move, lab industry doesn't get your talent, which is really a shame because I think that industry could turn around if you did have more business sense in there. It's really been kind of taken over. Yeah.
For those in office looking to pivot out of office, there are people that have it absolutely fantastic that will come into your office and you will be jealous of.
Mm.
There are people that will pivot out of office and have to make 80 phone calls a day in a sales role just to get started. And look, of course, I'm naming one extreme and another extreme, but like the grass isn't always greener. This is a lot of reality right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's really, really be careful. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to be a manager anymore. And then you go be a manager in another office. And it's like, well, this is a new headache. Or, you could leave the industry, which it's not true. You're in dental. Welcome. You're here for life. Just make the best of it.
We do. We
But
get sucked
everybody,
back in.
yeah, you get roped back in. I was roped back in. I'm going
Yeah.
back quite some time. And, look, just really, really evaluate what can make you happy. And like you just said, same with labs. I mean, a lot of labs don't realize they need a sales team. They don't realize they need marketing, and they're legacy labs, like you just said.
Yeah.
The dad owns it and the kids are going to take over. And well, now what? Because all of dad's business is retiring or moving on or in-house milling or printing and things like
Yeah.
that. And, what's your strategy now? There's so much going on at all times. Is AI going to take my job? Realistically, probably not. It could take a lot off your plate. But,
Mhm.
the lab industry, it's hard to start a lab without knowing what you're doing, without experience.
And without a book of clients too, I think that's just impossible. Well, let's talk a little bit about AI taking your job though, because I know my admin friends are freaking out. I mean, the managers, not so much, but the receptionists and, the billers, they're all like, AI is going to replace me. And it might be true. It might be true, but what else do you have going on that could make you so valuable AI won't replace you? And I think that's the real question people have to ask. I don't see how dental assistants get replaced yet. I don't see how dentists get replaced unless everybody gets a robot, but even that robot's problematic. There's one robot doing dentistry, we know that, Yomi or something like that. But for an admin person, I mean, you were a manager, I was a manager. I'd be happy to turn some of this stuff over to AI. That's kinda how I'm feeling, like, "Yeah, take this from me. Let me focus on other things."
If there was something that could speed up claims, verification, I mean, guys, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a billionaire, you create something that's to the minute with insurance breakdowns, with
Yeah,
exactly, you need people. You need people to fix the errors. You need people to talk to people. You
yep,
need people to answer the phones. If AI answers the phones after hours, all right, cool. You know what I mean? Like, leave a message, get yourself on the schedule, like, get someone to call you back by all means. But if chances are you can utilize AI to help you with a good program
mhm,
before it replaces you, I don't see it really replacing people in the office
I don't.
anytime soon. I just don't. I see it really complementing the office. That's what I see it doing.
I would rather like, okay, so AI reception, a year ago, everybody was like, "Oh, it's not there yet." It's pretty close. It's pretty close. And a lot of offices, if you're dealing with workforce shortage, reception, I think and that, like, goes against every manager and receptionist, like, "Oh my god, they're gonna replace me with AI." But if you think about it, think of all the calls you get that, like, you could use it as a screener at least, right? Like, how many calls have you had to take? A patient was standing in front of you, the phone rang, you were like, "Oh, I'm gonna answer this," and then by that time, patient's gonna come up, and then this becomes like this long, involved phone call, and now patient's sitting there waiting for you, right? So I
That's
feel
exactly
like
what I was thinking.
I mean, it just let them do a screening. I'm not saying it's an answering machine, but if you had a answering machine that could talk with your person, why not, right? It does what it says and at least talks to them until, "Oh, we have a person who's ready to talk to you right now." And then that person has everything there. They don't have to re-ask the questions. I just feel like there's a knee-jerk negative reaction towards AI reception, but I also know that in many industries, that's the norm, and I feel like, again, we're missing the boat. If the vast majority of the American public is okay with talking to AI initially, why are we bucking the trend? Same thing with online scheduling. If most people like online scheduling and we don't wanna do it, why are we doing this? Like, what's the friction here?
And to further your point, to drive it home, and if you sit in the front or even sit in the back, right? You're a manager listening, you're a doctor listening, you're a front desk person. You've all had this experience either said to you that this happened, maybe you're a doctor, or you've seen this happen to your team. You go home and you're venting and you're just like, the phone wouldn't stop ringing.
Yeah,
The
yes,
assistant needed this. The
yes,
hygienist was having a problem with perio charting. There's two patients in the waiting room. Every chair is booked. I'm trying to check out two people and someone has a problem and someone needs to apply for third party financing. Maybe. And answer the phone, answer the phone, answer the phone. And that's the drill, right? That's what we're
yeah,
told. Like,
oh, yeah. Don't let that phone ring more than twice, Ted,
yeah.
you know?
Oh, execution by fire. They shoot you right there in the spot.
Yep.
But if that's the thing, this is where it might be beneficial. And the front desk person just has help.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
they answer the phone. The point is made. Hey, it's better than an answering machine.
Yeah, yeah.
The patient feels ignored when they get that's really when they hang up, I feel like. That's when I'll hang up
Mhm.
probably. Like, they're not gonna listen to this anyway. If the AI answers, gets my "Hey, look, while you're waiting, can I please have your information? You're a patient of record."
Yeah,
And then, I mean, when I was in practice, I really, really was good. Teresa, you're trying to check out. Teresa, give me 1 second. This is Ted. Thank you for calling the dental office that I worked at.
yeah,
Oh, how's it going? Listen, how about this? I'm going to take down your name and phone number right this second. There's someone in front of me right now. I want to give you my undivided attention. Can I
absolutely.
trust you that I can call you back in like 5 minutes?
Yep.
And that's what I did. And I know that's frowned upon in some cases. I'm sorry. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't run your organization if you're listening, but I mean, it's the human element here that, like,
Oh, person
let's
in
not.
front is first. You have to do it that way, right? Like, I mean, the person on the
Absolutely.
phone is important too, but they're in front of me, so how you handle it
But
is exactly how I would handle it.
yeah, even then, you're on the phone. Someone walks up to you. You say, "Hey, Teresa, hold on 1 second." You say, "Hey, listen, please take a seat. I'm going to call you. I'm on the phone. You got my undivided attention the second I got the
Mhm,
phone." And you go
mhm,
back on the phone.
mhm.
So, I mean, if you can't do that, and then you have Tedina, the AI person that answers,
Hedina.
I could get your basic, "Hey, are you a new patient? You're an existing patient? Are you
Mhm.
okay with me calling you right back? Or why don't you give me your information and insurance numbers? We'll even call you back and know that you're in network with us or not. If that's possible, which I don't know if it is, I think, my goodness, it's less burnout. I think it leads to less burnout for your team.
I think the phone is a big source of stress. And if you really think about it, yes, the phone is the lifeline. Yes, 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 yes. But it's also a big source of stress when your people are burnt out up front or understaffed. And I do feel like the majority of small offices, onesie twosies that we call them, they're understaffed, terribly
Yeah.
understaffed. Well, you did say something to me in the pregame, though, that I thought was really interesting. You mentioned that in small groups, you're seeing some of the small groups say, you know what, we're doing insurance free. And I was like, ooh, okay. So tell me more about that.
They're dropping more and more insurances. And I'm
Okay.
not going to say fully done.
No, no,
And
but
there
you're
are out
seeing
of network where they could still submit and things like that. But, you think of their marketing strategies, right? And guys, for those of you listening to the onesies and twosies offices, and you're being sold on SEO and pay per click and making sure that you're the first search. And guys, I am not taking anything away from that. That's very important. You do need it to some degree, but
Mm,
the community outreach is just as important.
mhm,
And
mhm.
these groups who have names in the community for a long time, and they'll sponsor baseball teams, and they're out there and they have that online presence and they have the referral presence. Chances are these groups took over existing practices too.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
just the location these patients have been going to forever. And
Right.
they have kids now, so they're going to bring that. And a lot of the same faces are there. They don't need to like scratch and claw every single day for new patients and look for it. And if these insurances and these patients match the low quality insurance, then it's just like, hey, you know what? Like you said before, I'm not going after people that don't get it anymore. I'm going for
Mhm.
people that need dental work, that are easy to work with, that we can work with, right? Like, I'm not saying charge $4,000 to them for a crown, but guess what? You could definitely, they're willing to work with it. They know you're going to provide a good service. They know the
Yeah.
crown's not going to come out and things like that. That's what they're doing. Look, you have to pay for it now.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but having you on my schedule isn't worth it as much as it once was. It's breaking up with the patient. I know all of you listening have wanted to break up with the patient
Oh my
before.
gosh, yes, for sure.
And this is kind of the way to do so. And I'm not saying drop your largest provider, but for those that the payoff's not worth it, going out of network or dropping insurance altogether, it really seems like it's worth it. And the established solo practices. If you're a new practice owner, you're a young practice, it might not be advantageous for you to do this yet. But for those where you took over the retiring dentist practice and you have a bunch of patients that aren't willing to work with you, maybe consider just take a look at, again, at the P&L, which insurances are paying, which aren't, and see what's worth it for you or not. If you are in a position to get new patients, if your marketing strategies are working, if you're sponsoring happy hours, if you're walking up and down your shopping center and handing out business cards,
Old
eh, you
school
know,
stuff. Old school
that's what
stuff.
I had to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I did it too. Went to local employers and said, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Health fairs, all that." But you said something but this is all marketing, right? And what I'm hearing is they're stepping away from insurance dependence, but they understand they have to up their marketing spend. And
Sure.
that's not a weird thing. In fact, that's such a good business decision because how much are you losing on write-offs and your marketing spend what is it? 4 to what do they say? 3 to 5% of collections is what conservative CPAs will tell you. And I routinely see with the insurance free and even startups that are insurance free, they're at 6 to 7% of collections on marketing. And it's a good spend if you look at the alternative. I love that you're seeing this trend. I mean, insurance is always going to be there and insurance always has a purpose. But if they're filing it for the patient and patient can still use their benefits, that's great. Why not? Why not do
Absolutely.
that? Okay, so you are seeing that, and I hear it too. I mean, I hear it now and then. I think the trend is definitely that the larger DSOs, larger corporates, I mean, their path to consistent revenue is being in network. And so they pursue those contracts. But if we have a new group of localized small groups, corporates deciding to not do that, that's going to be a very interesting impact on the landscape.
I think so. And, I would even say you need to be established in some way
Mm-hmm.
in order to do this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you weigh the pros and cons and you sit down with your CPA and you see, hey, these people are not paying and their insurance is barely paying. What are we doing here? How many referrals are they actually? And these are the things that the CPAs don't see: who referred who and whose family is
Yeah.
who. And look, we accepted DMOs when I was a manager at one of my offices, and guess what? They went for all on fours more than anybody. So, and this keep in mind,
That's
this is another
interesting.
time.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah,
but yeah,
that's interesting, yeah.
but that was throw enough, you know what, against the wall till something stuck. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So we capitalize on those opportunities. But I'm not telling everyone to start taking DMOs and take
Oh, no.
10,000 more patients and hope that one of them is worth it. But, you know, again, and don't compare yourself to those giant private equity corporate groups that before they even open a new practice, pump $1 million into localized marketing or something like that, like
Yeah.
whatever the crazy number is.
Well, and by the way, you and I know, you and I know a lot of these large DSOs. You work mostly with smaller groups, but you've come into contact, and I've worked with a lot of the large DSOs. They're a mess. They're a mess. And that's why some of the smaller doctors are like, I'm going to sell because they've got their stuff together and it's operations. And then they tell me who they're looking to sell to. And I'm going, ooh. So
Yeah.
I think business is just, it depends on who's in charge. And lots of bigger DSOs are not well run.
I am an advocate for small business. I've said this on prior podcasts where big business exists. Well, there's small business grows into big business buys small business, big business screws everything up, another
Yeah.
small business again.
Yes.
And look, Synergy Dental Partners is for the independent dentist.
Yeah.
You know, we're for the independents, we're for the small groups. We're getting our members the same pricing on everything we've already talked about that a 20
Mhm.
plus practice group would get. And that's the negotiations that we do. And we're seeing a lot of kids, I call them kids, that want their own practices. You know, and even them, I'll say this about the DSOs, a lot of their trainings are terrific.
Mm.
And how you should present treatment, how to answer the phones, how to increase production as a dentist. But when you have your own practice and you could still really do right by patients while monetizing it, right? For lack of better terms, like you can help people and you deserve to get paid for it, right? And that's the position that you're in a private practice. Now, how do you get your new patients? Look, the local Facebook marketing, the local
Yeah.
social media marketing.
Yeah.
Look, again, I worked in an office building. I walked into every office. I gave out my card to everyone and said, "Oh, I don't take insurance. Don't worry, we'll work with you." You know, like
Hmm.
we're not here to rob you. We're here to work with you. Like, is something wrong? Like, get that
Yeah.
checked. Dental problems don't go away on their own.
Right.
And once a perio patient, always a perio patient. That's how that works. I mean, as a small business, go for that. Put your business cards at cars in the train station. Go to the Little League events. Like, I mean, I don't know if you want pediatric,
No,
children, but
no,
things
but
like
Little
that.
League
But
is huge. Little League is huge. My son, did the whole Little League thing too, and there were banners. Companies would purchase banners to run up along the fence at every game,
yeah,
and I know exactly who those companies are because of that. There were some companies I had no idea about, and were there dental offices? Yeah, I was like, "Oh, look at that dental office." It wasn't
yeah.
my dental office because it wasn't local, but that was very smart because, yeah, you might get some kids, but you're gonna get those adults that drive the kids. That's the thing. I feel like God, I would love to see us go back to grassroots organic marketing. I would love it because I feel like if you love being a dental person, you are the person to go out and advocate for the industry. And it was really fun going around like you and I did and saying, "My office is amazing. Why don't you come here?" And
Yeah.
that would just fly out of my mouth. And because I loved my office so much, you should come to us. And you put your best person out there doing it. And you'd be surprised how many people just making contact with them, they're going to look to you and they're gonna look you up and they're gonna come. Yeah.
Well, look at it. All you independents out there, you guys provide solutions.
Yeah.
You guys are problem solvers. These people have issues on their own or from, dare I say, other dental offices, but we don't talk bad about other dentists if we're
No, no.
dentists, no matter, you really don't. But like, you're a problem, so I can help you. That's what you need. Look, I don't need help. Then, all right, you're not my patient. That's
Right.
fine.
Well, good.
You
Good for
know,
you. Good for you.
yeah.
And
You
then
don't
walk
need help. Maybe you need upkeep. Maybe you need some
right.
monitoring. Either way, I'm here if you need me. And that's how to get out there. Just thinking outside the box. But yes, an online presence plus actually being outside the office in some capacity is going to go a long way.
It makes a huge difference. It really does.
Are you a dental biller feeling overwhelmed and isolated? I get it. The world of revenue cycle management is complex and ever-changing. That's why I created Dental Revenue Network. Our membership community was created to help you become a better revenue cycle manager and small business operator. Say goodbye to feeling alone and hello to a supportive community of dental billing professionals. Here's what you'll get: monthly billing focused meetings with peers and experts, business building sessions to elevate your career, resource libraries tailored for billers and billing company owners, introductions to cutting-edge RCM technologies and companies, and a vibrant community for networking and support. Ready to transform your dental billing experience? Visit dentalrevenuenetwork.com today. Don't wait. Join us now and navigate the business of RCM with confidence.
All right, look, we're at an hour again. And this happens with Ted and I. We're always just like, oh, I got to go. I got another call because the hour just always flies by. Tell us again how we can find you. And remember, your stuff is in the show notes because you, Synergy, Supreme Overlord at Synergy, have convinced them to sponsor the podcast. And I am grateful to you guys. For a long time, you all have sponsored the podcast. So there's information in the show notes on how to receive a Nobody Told Me That special. And it's been there on all of the podcasts, I think going back for about 2 years now. But how the heck do they reach you, Supreme Overlord Ted of Synergy?
We forgive anything stupid I said on this podcast, which I'm sure is edited out, although I never said anything stupid. Go to the synergydentalpartners.com, leave your info. My cell is 516-316-3671. Have at it, bud. Give me a call or text at any time. You can find us on any social media. We love Teresa Duncan. We really try and align ourselves with people that care, that are independent, that aren't corporate shills, that we try and be the punk rock of dentistry fighting corporate for you. Like, guys, we've negotiated rates with Darby, with Strom and Neodent, with Spark, with ClearCorrect, with BioHorizons, Zest, Keystone, Comet, Brasler, again, 9 different labs, Dell, Mango Voice, how cool are they? We've negotiated with all of these groups. We got big players to give you small player pricing, if that makes sense. And we're fighting so hard. Our Chief Procurement Officer, Jim, fights so hard to keep your costs down all day. Please text, call, go to our website, email, leave your info with us. Tell them Teresa sent you. Of course, hey, look, we'll work with you, right?
They'll take care of you. They'll take care of you. And honestly, if they show you what they can do and don't do, and you're like, I don't know if this is enough, then it's not a fit. Then it's not a fit. I don't think I've ever sent anyone your way directly and they've been like, they couldn't do anything. I always get, oh man, I should have done this before. That's always what I hear. Yeah.
Look, I mean, we'll have a conversation. If you're a good fit, great. If not, we wish you success no matter what, with or without us. We're fighting for you, but it's all good either way. And we're so happy to be here. We love you, Teresa.
Thank you so much. Supreme Overlord. All right. Thank you again, Ted and Synergy. And dear listeners, I always appreciate you spending your time with me.
We're all super busy, so thank you for making time for me today. The show notes will have any links that we referenced in the episode. You can also find links for my book, events, and my online insurance course, Dental Insurance Design and Management. I speak often around the country on management and insurance issues. Come hang out with me in one of my classes. I promise you'll laugh and learn.